This is Jim Jordan, Donald Trump's attack dog. He's now chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. He recently appeared on a podcast talking about how he was raised.
Raised in a conservative kind of Christian home?
You were raised in a conservative Christian home? Tell me more about your background.
My background is the sport of wrestling.
Your background is the sport of wrestling. That's kind of violent. And your religion is?
Christian.
Yeah, your background is wrestling, and you're a conservative Christian who believes in wrestling, and you worry about how we're raising our children. They're not tough enough, right?
But yeah, it's probably wrestling because it's all about competition. I think it's one of the problems in the country today is people, you don't have people competing. And frankly, I don't think you have enough people just involved in being tough. No one gets in a fight in school anymore. You don't have enough kids playing football or wrestling. I think that's a problem. So
you think our kids aren't tough enough anymore, and they don't want what? What don't they want?
No one gets in a fight in school anymore.
Yeah, nobody gets into a fight in school anymore. Isn't that interesting? The guy who wrestled in school, the guy who trained all day to fight, thinks it's bad that school children don't get into fights anymore. In other words, the guy who spent all his time learning how to beat up people is upset that you can't be a bully anymore. Continue.
And you got in a fight. Every couple of weeks you get in a fight with somebody. It was all good. That's life on the play. That's life on the playground. And you didn't. It wasn't a grudge. You just got in a fight because he out safe and kickball. No, we're going to get in a fight and everything's fine. But I think we're losing some of that, and I don't know that that's good.
Yeah, we need more people fighting on the playground, because while other students were maybe learning math or chess, you were learning how to beat up people. It was all good. People fighting because you won, because you like beating up on people.
Every couple of weeks you get in a fight with somebody. It was all good.
Every couple of weeks you get into a fight with somebody, and it was all good because that's all you did was beat up people. Raised in your conservative home. And what is your religion?
Christian.
Yeah, Christian, right. When you were a wrestling coach at Ohio State.
It was all good.
Right. And when your wrestlers told you that Dr. Strauss was molesting them, what did you say?
It was all good.
You said getting molested by Dr. Strauss makes you tougher, right? You said.
It was all good.
Getting punched or getting molested.
It was all good.
Yes, because it builds character. This is Republican conservative Byron Donalds, who represents Florida's 19th congressional district. That's him on the left. The congressman on the right is Florida Republican Cord Byrd, who, as you can see, was taught at an early age to hold your breath before a black man approaches and hold it until they leave, so black men can never steal your bodily essence. Anyway, Byron Donalds is black, and he's also a conservative Republican. Like me, Congressman Byron Donalds was born in Brooklyn, but I wasn't a black kid growing up in Brooklyn. He was, and it was different. He was raised by a single mom, and he was arrested growing up as a young adult on distribution of marijuana and bribery. When he was young, it was expunged from his record, but he may have lied about it. And why am I bringing this up? Because last year, he voted against the Respect for Marriage Act, because in 2020, he got elected to Congress calling himself a Trump-supporting, gun-owning, liberty-loving, pro-life, politically incorrect black man. And that's why earlier this year, Lauren Boebert nominated him for Speaker when they were trying to beat Kevin McCarthy. Lauren Boebert decided to nominate conservative Republican Byron Donalds for Speaker, which prompted Congresswoman Cori Bush to tweet, "Byron Donalds is not a historic candidate for Speaker. He is a prop. Despite being black, he supports a policy agenda intent on upholding and perpetuating white supremacy. His name being in the mix is not progress, it's pathetic." See, there's a simple rule. If you're black, Jewish, Muslim, woman, LGBTQ, or Hispanic, you're not allowed to vote for a Republican, and you're certainly not allowed to run for office as a Republican, because this has become the party of white Christian nationalists who get blacks, Jews, Muslims, women, members of the LGBTQ community, and Hispanics killed, persecuted, or left with no choice but suicide. Congresswoman Cori Bush isn't messing around. The gloves are off, which is why I want Florida's Child Protective Services to do a welfare check on Congressman Byron's children. Here is Republican Congressman Byron, who, did I mention he voted against same-sex marriage last year? He doesn't think same-sex couples should raise a family, right? He doesn't trust same-sex couples to raise a family. But here is Republican Congressman Byron talking about fiscal responsibility, and it veered off into a really creepy side road that Florida Child Protective Services should look into.
It's an unmitigated disaster. And mom's going to be mad. Somebody's getting a spanking. I still believe in spanking. I got kids. I spank my kids. It's whatever. You know, social media can get mad at me, but it is what it is.
I'm sorry. Just for the record, could you say that again, please?
I spank my kids.
You spank your kids, even though growing body of scientific research shows that spanking kids leads to aggression, antisocial behavior, anxiety, and depression.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I think that's child abuse, and I think Child Protective Services should do a welfare check on the congressman's kids to see how hard he's spanking them. It is legal to spank your kids. It's not legal to abuse your children.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Beating kids, hitting kids. Congressman Jim Jordan, what do you think about child abuse?
It was all good.
Yeah, it was all good. Beating kids, celebrating fights on the schoolyard, aggression, looking the other way when Dr. Strauss is molesting your wrestlers. This is the Republican Party. These are damaged souls who must perpetuate the cycle of violence, which is why they love guns, police brutality, firing squads if Donald Trump gets reelected, capital punishment, and of course, war. They love war. But the war in Ukraine has these Republicans flummoxed. You see, they love war, but they also love Vladimir Putin. And they can't really admit that they're rooting for him. They're rooting for him and rooting against Ukraine because Putin, besides giving them money, Putin is everything they love, a right-wing Christian nationalist, an authoritarian. He's white, and he's all about being white and persecuting the gays. The Republicans, the right wing, are very dishonest when it comes to the war in Ukraine.